a suspect or you are a witness, we are always very professional, and the team confirmed that the operation in Matlala's house was conducted in a normal, professional way that we normally conduct operations. Maybe some of the evidence will come as I continue when there were attempts to open cases against the team, and the wife did not buy the story of writing that statement. But I'm going to touch on that. But our procedure is simple. Each and every operation, there is a commander that is in charge. Everybody is acting under the command of that commander. If there are minor children, is the commander who takes care, him or herself, of minors, as well as if we have confirmed that there are also females within the target, that there are females that are going to take care of the females. And normally the team won't deal with a person that they are not there for.
Honorable Mathes, are you satisfied? Honorable Ngola.
Thank you very much, Chair. General, let's go back to Honorable Malema's question. I think I missed you on what distracted the first team for the second team to be appointed. Where was the first team extracted? From CI or from the PKTT? Or it was a multidisciplinary team as well? The one that was investigating the case of...
it was... Oh, sorry, Honorable Chair, I remember. It was the GCI Ops, which is assisted by PKTT, that was investigating up until the 6th. As I indicated, that from the 19th, there are specialists that came in to work on these two cases. So it happened that because on the second case of kidnapping, you needed a proper and thorough digital forensic analysis to analyze the video footages that are, so there was a lot that was done during that time also on that case. Hence, then we were ready for the search and seizure, unannounced one, because of evidence that we had. So it was the same team. But then soon after the operation of the 6th, and then the case was reallocated to the team that is in the Office of the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Detection.
But General, the first team was allocated by you. Who withdrew it for the second team to be allocated?
The first
team was allocated by the National Commission.
By the National
Did
Commission.
the National Commission withdraw the first team for General Spear to appoint his own team?
No, he did not.
So it was a parallel team in a way.
A parallel team, I can...
So General Spear is behaving like a parallel National Commissioner. Thank you, Chair. I think the General can't answer the last question. Let me forgive him.
What is the answer or the opinion, General?
Thank you, Chairperson, for rescuing me with my opinion. Yes, if I have to voice my opinion, I can agree with that narrative, because one would not expect that what National Commissioner has instructed, and then someone else must come and instruct otherwise. But one can say it was the chaotic moment. As I say, chaos started from the 6th. So as these things were happening, building up to January, we are still going to see as we move along the timeline as to how chaotic the situation was.
Can we proceed? Honorable Sangoni.
Chair, I suspect I'm covered. I wanted to know from the general what led them to Mr. Matlala's house as a prime suspect. But I think the general has said that there was a lot of digital forensic work that was done. I'm covered. Thank you, Chair.
Chief Whip.
No, thanks, Chair. General, my question is very linked to I think the latest question from Honorable Ngola. Has there been any opportunity for Spear to explain, General Spear to explain, why has he taken a decision to appoint a task team over and above an existing one appointed by the National Commissioner? So that's my first question. Has there been an explanation provided in that regard? The second question linked to that, when the National Commissioner became aware of that parallel process and yourself, what was your conclusion about what could be the motives of General Spear in carrying out an operation like that parallel to the one that is sanctioned by the National Commissioner? I'm asking this question because I assume that, as we were told by the generals who came before you, that there's something called NASCOM, or a body of a national commissioner or provincial commissioners, where the lieutenant generals who are at the head office also attend. But it's POC or something, yeah. But beside that, I think there would be a direct communication between a national commissioner and any of his deputies. So I'm asking in that context, has there been any explanation provided either directly, one-on-one, or in the board? Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe giving the response, Honorable Chair, that will cover both questions. There's never been an explanation, but then one cannot be able to say at this level, because one is reporting to the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Detection, General Kumalo, is reporting there. Now, if General Kumalo is called by the National Commissioner in the absence of the Deputy National Commissioner and direct that this case must be investigated by the GCI Ops, one then will presume that the National Commissioner would have informed the Deputy National Commissioner. So we were moving along with the investigation with that on mind, only to realize afterwards. Now again, when the reversal is happening, the Deputy National Commissioner wanting to reallocate the docket to his team, one might think that there has been a discussion between the two of them and the National Commissioner, only to find that when one then gave the report to the docket is no longer with us, then the instruction of reallocating came from the National Commission.
Through your chair. So the reallocation back coming from the National Commissioner was going back to the original team, or you had to set up a different team?
No, the original team.
Thank you, Chair.
Charlie. Honorable Skosana.
I was covered, Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Nombalo.
Yeah, no, just one question, Chair. General, is it ordinary for the Deputy National Commissioner to change a team unilaterally to relocate? Is it an ordinary practice?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. It's not ordinary. It's not in line even with the discipline of what that is expected in the SAPS. So one would always presume that the instruction from the Deputy National Commissioner is something that has been discussed with the National Commission.
So General Spear acted extraordinary by doing what he did.
Yes, I can.
He did the unprecedented.
Yes, I can confirm.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Advocate Mukhaitz.
Okay, thank you, Chair. General Kumalo, I referred
before-
General to page.
Let's take Bangazit. I think he was on the list here.
Well, thanks, Honorable Chairperson. In fact, I have substantially been covered because my question was actually in relation to what Honorable Ngola has already asked, because there was a gap, in my view, from the time when the original team actually did the investigation and at the time when the investigation was taken over by General Spear and given to another team. So that gap to me was problematic. But I'm troubled with the coincidence of the 6th of December, where Advocate Johnson actually also comes into the fray on the same day, demanding the immediate, he used urgently, requesting, the dockets, should I call them dockets? Yeah, dockets, that those dockets be handed over to her as a matter of urgency, all happening on the 6th. What would have actually prompted her to demand those dockets to actually be handed over to her? And she's raising a question of the trust deficit issue on a matter that was originally reported to the police, but suddenly she actually is raising an issue of the trust deficit with the SAPS. Why would the complainant go to the SAPS in the first place if the issue of trust was his concern?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. One was reflecting on the coincidence of because the dockets are for October. So now it has been November, it has been December, and the dockets were dealt with, were being worked on by the Division Inspectorate, as it's indicated in the same letter. But then the agency comes on the 6th when we are busy with this takedown operation.
Thank you, Chair. General Kumalo, just while we're there, I referred General to that particular letter because I wanted clarity on just confirmation whether the events that happened on the 6th of December, this letter that was ultimately written for the request of the dockets, this is also the very same. Are these the dockets that ultimately led to General Kumalo's arrest in June 2025? Is this connected to your arrest that happened in June 2025?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. Indirectly, yes, because it's the same complainant. But what happened, because on these cases, according to the report from legal services, there was nothing tangible. And then a new case was registered by IDEC other than this, which is a Brooklyn case now, where we were arrested in June.
General, then I'd like us to go back to the events that leading up to the disbandment, and we've got quite a bit to cover there. I'm getting concerned about time because we've been put on time by the chair. But in your statement, you've mentioned that after the 6th of December, after that raid, you went back to Mr. Ket Matlala's property, this time his office. And you conducted a second raid. Now we know from the evidence that was also given by Mr. Matlala that the second raid also resulted in litigation that he instituted against you for the return of certain items. And including in these items, or included in the items, was allegations that you have misappropriated jewelry and a MacBook while you were conducting your raid. Could you just briefly take us through the events of in relation to the second operation that you conducted?
Thank you, Honorable Chair, honorable members. Maybe then to save time, I'll follow the timeline. Operation is on the 6th. On the 12th, the team returns the cell phones. There is no litigation yet, but on the 12th, the team, because as I've indicated, we are the team is self-sufficient. Everything, the turnaround time of all the analysis or of work is very short because we have dedicated capacity and dedicated specialists. So the cell phones were returned on the 12th, and then on the 13th, and then Mr. Matlala signed the affidavit at High Court demanding his cell phones that were brought back on the 12th already. So on the 13th, he then filed the affidavit at court. So the only thing that was still outstanding were firearms. But in his affidavit, he's including even the cell phones that had already been returned. And then on the 17th, he filed then the notice of motion. On the 18th, as agreed upon between the team, Mr. Matlala and his lawyer, that was the appointment date to say that, because on the 6th, when the team took the 4 firearms, they wanted the rest of the firearms. But then Mr. Matlala indicated that they are on the sites. I reflected on the team being professional, understanding business. And then the team asked as to when can you be able then to bring the firearms together so as we can finalize the compliance inspection. And then it was agreed that will be on the 18th of December. And then indeed the team went there only to find that the responsible person who's having the safe key is not there. And then Mr. Matlala and the lawyer requested the postponement of that compliance, of which the team agreed to the following day. Hence, then on the 19th, the team went back, and then that compliance did take place, and 18 firearms then were confiscated for ballistic testing. Then on the 20th of December, that is when the team learned now of, because the previous date we saw on the papers, but we only learned on the 20th that Mr. Matlala has instituted high court proceedings for the return of his firearms as well as cell phones. To touch on the point, I think under paragraph 137, the interdict was to prevent any further harassment and the return. I'm touching on harassment after I've indicated on the working together on the 18th and on the 19th. Now, but then on the court papers, it's harassment and the return of the following items: the Rolex watch, which was not part of what the team confiscated, and the watch, yes, the firearms, the MacBook was also not part of the cell phones. The team took 5, not 2, but he wanted 2 on the court papers, as well as 2 rifles and a Beretta 9mm pistol. That is what was listed. Then, but other than the cell phones and the firearms, the team did not confiscate, even in the form of stealing those items. And also on paragraph 138, one is tempted to also...
As we can, but there's also other things happening in South Africa, around the world, local, global. Here's the news headlines with Ondela Mbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. For the news headlines, the IFP in KwaZulu-Natal has in a statement condemned what it calls vile and dangerous death threats directed at the province's Premier Taminduli. Limpopo's Human Settlements MEC Basikopo Makamu says 7 people have lost their lives in weather and flooding-related incidents since November last year. 5 were killed in the Waterberg district. And Johannesburg Magistrate Annalise Klapi has explained a decision to dismiss the request for CCTV footage in the bail application by Victor Majola in the DJ Waras murder case. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Noon, starting off in Gauteng, the M2 westbound in Crown has delays towards Main Reef Road, and Eskampa-Hleli Drive northbound in Pretoria has delays towards Moot Street. In KZN, a stationary vehicle on the N2 northbound before Umhlanga, and there's a crash on the N3 southbound at the ramp from Sanctuary Road. In Cape Town, the M3 northbound queuing at Paradise Road and the N1 outbound slow moving on Plattekloof Hill. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Ming Khabele.
Show me, listen, I have no idea what you're going to start with, but I will just say that I slept at 1:30 this morning watching, well, both games as I had promised, and watched that bumper second semi-final where ultimately Morocco defeated the Nigerians on penalties. But yeah, so now we have it. We have Morocco versus Senegal Sunday night, and I needed to put it out there.
And we're really looking forward to it. A very good afternoon to you, Ashraf, and our listeners. Well, I'm going to be starting off with cricket this hour, where South African under-19 coach Malibongwe Maketa has admitted that the players are experiencing some nerves ahead of the under-19 World Cup opener against Afghanistan tomorrow, but says that that's normal even for players in the senior team. South Africa are drawn in Group D alongside Afghanistan, Tanzania and West Indies, and will be based in Windhoek for all their group stages, with the knockout rounds to be played in Zimbabwe.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of nerves representing your country at a World Cup, and I'm fortunate enough to have been to the Men's World Cup, and experienced players also experience nerves because of the magnitude of the tournament. And here we have a psychologist that is working with the players, and all the coaches that work with the players on day-to-day basis. We are making sure that we are building that mental capacity to be able to handle the pressure that comes with the responsibility of representing your country at the World Cup.
Well, Maketa also says that regardless of the nerves, they're going for the win.
Well, we go to any tournament to win it as Cricket South Africa. And looking at this group and the way we've gone about it with everything that has happened, it's no less expectation for them. We want to go out there and win the tournament, and that's how we benchmark ourselves.
In rugby, Japan have officially submitted a bid to host the 2035 Rugby World Cup. If successful, it will be the second time that the country hosts the tournament. Japan Rugby Football Union President Masato Chidika confirmed that an expression of interest has been sent to World Rugby, and he said that the country must work together to deliver the best World Cup ever. Now, Japan previously hosted the Rugby World Cup back in 2019 and also reached the quarterfinals for the first time in its history. The next tournaments will be held in Australia in 2027 and the United States in 2031. In football, Cameroon Football Federation President Samuel Eto'o says that he will appeal his 4-match ban and the $20,000 fine imposed by CAF. The sanctions comes after Eto'o was reportedly seen making an angry gesture over refereeing decisions in the presence of CAF President Patrice Motsepe, and Feka Foot said that it has taken note of the disciplinary committee's ruling, but criticized the decision as lacking clear justification and questioned the fairness of the process. And the federation reaffirmed that it has full support for Eto'o as he prepares to challenge the ruling. I don't know if you saw the clip of Eto'o.
Well, I didn't. I heard the commentator yesterday making reference to it.
So basically, they are in that VVIP box, you know, where all the presidents of the federation are sitting, and he's not happy with the ruling of some sort. He turns and actually faces the head of the Federation of Football in Morocco and is complaining to him. It's just like, what's happening? Like, why? No, that is not right.
So he's complaining about what? A refereeing decision?
Yes, about a refereeing decision. Now someone comes in to try to talk to him to say, calm down. He's like, no. But you can just see all these gestures.
Just to confirm, I mean, obviously one of the great African players, we know that, right?
Yeah.
Samuel Eto'o, but what's his position within Cameroon right now?
He's the president of the Cameroon Federation.
So he's the guy who made some dramatic changes for the team before the tournament. Well, so whatever they find him, here's my take on it. I would find him if he doesn't get upset. Because that means there's no passion in the game.
Passionate, right?
Like, come on. Can you imagine him like sitting there and his team is winning or losing, and he's just like, you know, like these cricket guys maybe watching bowls and they just and they score a goal and he's got no emotion, and like as if he's like watching in silence. No, I would find him if he does not get.
Perhaps they find him feeling that he disrespected the CAF president, because Patrice Motsepe was literally almost close to him.
And then tomorrow they'll sit and talk about how they can make African football better continentally, and who's going to worry about this little irritation on the field. I mean, if that's the case, look at the amount of footballers who get upset on the field of play. Actually, the coaches last night, the Egypt game, for a few minutes they were like fighting, then they were having. I mean, come on, man. That's just the way it is. No, I would find him if he doesn't get upset.
In the meantime, Senegal star Sadio Mane has confirmed that Sunday's Africa Cup of Nations final will be his last appearance at the tournament. The former Liverpool forward helped Senegal edge Egypt in the semi-finals and says that he is determined to give everything to deliver victory in his farewell AFCON match. Now, Mane expressed joy for his teammates and the people of Senegal, adding that he's quite excited to play his final game on the continental stage. Senegal face Morocco in the final on Sunday around 9 p.m. Just looking at tennis, defending champion Yannick Sinner will face France's Hugo Gaston in the first round of the Australian Open as he bids for a third straight title at Melbourne Park. Women's top seed Arina Sabalenka opens against French wildcard Tianso Rakamanga, while men's world number one Carlos Alcaraz meets Australian Adam Walton as he chases a career Grand Slam. 10-time champion Novak Djokovic, who's seeded fourth, he begins against Spain's Pedro Martinez as he targets a record 25th major, while women's second seed Iga Swiatek will play a qualifier. And third seed Coco Gauff meets Kamila Rakimova. So, very interesting one in terms of the Australian Open, and looking forward to it. But with that said, it is a wrap from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
It's that time of the year again. Back to school. New uniforms, fresh books, and new beginnings. As learners return to the classroom, let's encourage them to dream big, work hard, and stay focused. Parents, teachers, and communities, this is where the journey continues. SAFM wishes all learners a safe, successful, and inspiring school year. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
Okay, I can't really say man in the dock, okay, but I can say hot seat. The crime intelligence boss, Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, continues with his testimony at the Ad Hoc Committee, and that's what we're going to hook into right now.
Then there was no noise up until the operation of the 6th of December of this issue of a tender. And that document, as they normally operate, leaking the documents that they submit anywhere else, it was leaked. It was all over the print and social media from the 20th. Then it made headlines up until the minister called the meeting on the 24th with SAPS management to discuss this tender. The point that one is driving to is, was this meeting, discussion, and the cancellation of the tender going to happen if there was no operation on the 6th of December, which then resulted in the High Court issues, where then this tender issue was also part of, because that's when it became known to the general public. So we are saying basically the operation on the 6th was the cause for the meeting of the 24th and the subsequent cancelling of the tender later on. Then moving to 1.147, then going through the WhatsApp communication, which are also attached from SDK 19, page 174. In my affidavit, I did not include all of them. I only included the ones that are talking to the subject matter.
Yeah, the ones referred to in your statement are attached.
May we please take Honorable Mathis.
Thank you, Chair. I was hoping that I'd ask these questions before we moved on to the next theme. Mine was on your meeting with the former Minister, Becky Cele. Were you not shocked, General, that he called you, and did he say to you before the actual meeting what he wanted to talk to you about? And also, was the meeting around, did it come across to you that he was paid by Matlala to sort of make his situation go away? Because according to the testimony of Kat Matlala, he said he paid Becky Cele also to help him get his firearms back. And that was the biggest thing he was worried about, that SAPS took his firearms, he couldn't get his firearms, and he was desperate. That's why he reached out to Becky Cele. So you, as an official of SAPS, meeting with the former minister, I mean, I know he was your boss at some point. Was it a sound decision for you to do that? Did he offer you money also to be on the side or to side or make this case of Cat go away? You need to tell us that, because you're just giving us a bird's eye view of what happened there. And I'm sure, knowing the former minister, Becky Cele, he can talk. So can you give us a little bit more details there? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, let me start by saying even if one can do the communication analysis, you won't find any call between me and the former minister, even during the time when he was the minister. I try my best not to learn things that I do not know. So there was no communication. I won't say I was shocked, but the message when it came and the agency of the matter through a person who was requested that I must make myself available, it's very important. Then there is nothing else. In terms of did I suspect something, there is nothing that I suspected. I was just interested in what is it that is so important. Then when then the meeting did take place, he did then explain to me about the plan that is being hacked for me then to be dealt with in terms of what I've explained as a concerned former minister. That's what I picked up from him.
So, General, you're saying that the minister called you, or the former minister wanted to have this meeting with you. Are you comfortable to tell us who he asked to give you that message, to make yourself available? And are you saying that's all? He just wanted to warn you? It was nothing else? There was nothing else in your engagement? It was from the bottom of his heart, he felt the need to tell you that there's a plot against you?
Yes, starting from the messenger who was then requested for me to make myself available, I could pick up that there is something important that I need to avail myself. I must say, I last saw him in person and even during his farewell function. So I think it was after some months that I've never seen him. I've indicated the position about talking. So the person who then facilitated the meeting was Lieutenant General Khamane, who then said, the former minister said, he has to see you, it's important, it's for your own good, and that's when then I made myself available for those few hours, minutes.
Honorable Ngola.
Covered by Honorable Mattis, Chair. Thanks.
Honorable Sango.
Chair, I want to say I'm covered, but I don't think I'm hearing the General correctly. General, are you disputing the evidence that former Minister Ele put before this committee, and that Mr. Matlala, I think Mr. Matlala confirmed, well, it was Mr. Matlala, in fact, it wasn't the former minister, that while they were together, General Ele picked up the phone and called you and said, give back this man his guns, and then the guns were then returned because Mr. Matlala said that call was made in his presence.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Member. That I heard it for the first time through Mr. Matlala's evidence. What I knew and what I know and what was already on my affidavits was what I'm explaining, that it was facilitated as an agent meeting and for my own good from the concerned former minister. That was the reason I also availed myself for that meeting. And then when he told me that, and then I took note, but I was not shocked because by this time already, as my problems and the PKTT started from the 6th of December. So it was not like I was shocked that there is this plan. I took note of it. But to confirm again, Honorable Chair, there was no call that was received. It was a meeting, face-to-face meeting.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose Mr. Matlala could have been lying. I'll come back to it during my question session. Thanks, Chair.
Honorable.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. If my memory serves me well, because I remember a follow-up question was made to Mr. Matlala about the Kumalo he was speaking about. I think he made an indication that he was talking about Brigadier Kumalo, who works in the police station wherein the guns were kept. Because at some point I remember we were confusing the two Kumalos. And then he corrected us, he corrected the committee. He said, no, I'm not talking about Kumalo, who's the head of intelligence, of crime intelligence. I'm talking about Brigadier Kumalo.
That is a correct assertion of what he said. My records agree with that.
Is that one of the battery, Chair, not this one? Is that one of the battery, not this one? Thank you, Chair.
Advocate Mohaitz. Yeah, even here there is another. Eh? What are you saying, Jali?
I'm saying the ice boy, Chair. Thank you.
Oh, the other one is also a Kumalo. Eh?
Yes, Chair.
Okay. Advocate Mohaitz.
Yes, Chair. The question that was put to General Kumalo was, he's indicated that the minister's directive to disband the PKTT, or rather that the events that unfolded, and this can be seen from the text messages between Kate Matlala and Mogotsi. In his statement, General Kumalo, you suggest that these events seem to have been directly linked to the directive that was subsequently issued by the minister. And my question to you was, how did you arrive at that conclusion with a reference to the WhatsApp messages that you've attached to your statement?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The build-up to the 31st, we see, if you look at what is happening on the ground to us and what is discussed, remember what is discussed, we see it in May. So before May, we were not aware because we only picked up the WhatsApp communication in May during the arrest of Matlala. But then when you look at the activities as built up, hence then I started with the WhatsApp message on the 24th. Where Mr. Mogotsi is asking Mr. Matlala, how is the court proceedings? Now you link that up with the High Court proceedings that I've just explained as to what happened. And then after that, then they were on a WhatsApp call, the two of them. Then on the 25th, Mr. Mogotsi is sending another text to Mr. Matlala, reminding him of three things. He says, one, I peed. So it means he did not get the I peed guy response. Now, two, court case date. So again, referring to, and then the third one is a 25% we may lose accommodation and flight packages. That is in line with then the deal that they were having, that Mr. Matlala was going to pay for some of the delegates that were going for January 8th statement or coming this side. Then the next one, on the same day, Mr. Matlala is now responding on the previous messages. He's just saying, let me know when you are back. The banks open tomorrow. I'll settle that deposit thing. So he's responding to point number 3. And then on the first and the second point, he says, the rest we'll discuss whenever you are available. Then moving on to on the same day, Christmas Day, when everybody is happy. Then on the same day, Mokhozi is asking again, a reminder, IPID can be a breakthrough. So this is the third time now Mr. Mokhozi is asking about the IPID progress. And then Mr. Matlala replies, there is a bit of a hurdle there, but I'll fill you in. And then Mr. Mokhozi is insisting, will it work? And then Mr. Matlala then fails to hold back the answer. Then he gives the answer because he has been saying, we'll talk about it. He says, it needs someone brave enough. So that is the response from will it work. Then on the 27th of December, and then Matlala collected his own personal firearm from Brooklyn. It was the first firearm that came back from ballistic. And they all came back, but he collected only his own firearm on the 27th of December. Then on the 27th of December, so the other firearms are still at the police station, but they were all, because I think we have indicated our turnaround time for firearms that are less than 20, it's a week and a half or a week when we have to do the ballistic testing.
Honorable James.
General, thank you. I've been vindicated because Mr. Matlala, when we questioned him, he insisted that he collected all his firearms, not just the one that belonged to him. Why was it that he didn't collect the others? Were they not registered in his name?
Thank you, Chair. Maybe then fast forward, I was still going to come to that part. When were they collected? They were only collected on the 31st of December. The other firearms by Henika Mareko. So these firearms were not registered in Matlala's name, so he could not collect them. They were registered in the company's name. So he had to change the responsible person, and it's paperwork that you need to do for someone then to come and collect the firearms.
So you can confirm that he lied under oath when he testified and insisted that he collected all his firearms.
That is correct, Honorable Chair. I have
you.
evidence in terms of registers.
Honorable Shongwe.
Thank you. General, ngicela clarify something la. You're saying the guns were not owned by Matlala's company, right? They were owned by a certain company. You're saying that?
No, I say they were owned by the. Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Let's proceed, Advocate Mkhoitz.
Because the General Kumalo was interrupted while he was going through the sequence of the WhatsApp text, I just would like to allow him to finish the sequence dealing with how these communications were linked to the directive that followed on the 31st of December.
Thank you, Chair. So on the 27th, maybe before that, on the 25th, I highlighted the persistence of Mr. Mukhozi to Matlala about the IPIT progress. And then at the end, Matlala is responding that it looks like it's not happening. It needs someone brave enough. Now, on the 27th, Mr. Mukhozi sent a message to Matlala, which is a screenshot of his chat with the minister, asking if the arrest was effected. Then after receiving that, so in other words, according to our analysis and interpretation, Mr. Mukhozi is now showing Matlala that it's not me who wants a response, it's the minister. Look at...
Thank you, Ashraf. On the top stories, IFP condemns death threats against KZN and Premier, and Iran denies plans to execute protesters. For SAFM News, I am Ondelambana, and a very good afternoon. The IFP in KwaZulu-Natal has in a statement condemned what it calls vile and dangerous death threats directed at the province's Premier, Taminduli. It says the threats are circulating openly on social media and explicitly calling for the Premier's death. The party says the threats are criminal in nature. The IFP says it is deeply concerning that the threats have emerged at a time when the province's coalition government is receiving widespread praise across South Africa following the achievement of first place nationally in the matric exams. The Weather Service has issued a red level 10 warning of a high chance of severe impact from disruptive rains in Mpumalanga and Limpopo. The Weather Service says heavy rainfall is expected to persist today and tomorrow over the eastern parts of Limpopo and Mpumalanga. The service warns of the possibility of widespread flooding of roads and settlements, danger to life from fast-flowing streams or deep water, and communities being cut off for a prolonged period, among other things. Weather SA's
Continued heavy rainfall over parts of Limpopo and Mpumalanga that are expected later into today and stretching into tomorrow, the 16th of January 2026. Flooding risk remains high for these areas, and this is due to the combination of very high amounts of rainfall that are already accumulated over the past several days and the expectation of further heavy rainfall. The risk of widespread flooding remains critically high. As a result, that's why the South African Weather Service has issued a red level 10 warning for disruptive rainfall for areas most at risk.
Limpopo's Human Settlement MEC Basuko Makamo says 7 people have lost their lives in weather and flooding related incidents since November last year. 5 were killed in the Waterberg district. A boy was swept away in the Mutale River outside Musino earlier this week, and a 4-year-old at Mbaula village outside Giani last night. Makamo has visited the flood-stricken areas in the Giani area.
You will know that disaster has started in the province somewhere around end of November to December. Currently, we have lost about 5 people in the Waterberg district. As we speak now, today in Mbaula, 1 child has been swept. We are still going to search, but also in Wembe, Kotsi area, we have lost a person there. Search team is still busy and is going for the 2nd day that we are still searching, and we have not yet found the body. We hope we will be able to find.
Johannesburg Magistrate Annalise Tlhapi has explained her decision to dismiss the request for CCTV footage in the bail application by Victor Majola in the DJ Waras murder case. The defence has sought access to the CCTV footage obtained from the butchery across the road from the crime scene. Majola has allegedly been placed at the scene through the CCTV footage. Warwick Stock, also known as DJ Waras, was shot dead outside a building in Johannesburg. His company had a security contract to guard the company. Mnontsikelelo Mthabela reports.
The investigating officer, Captain Abe Montwedi, had previously expressed that there's only one copy of the footage which has been handed in for analysis at the forensic lab in Pretoria. And if requested, it could tamper with the evidence that has been kept in for trial proceedings. Magistrate Annalise Tlhapi emphasized that a bail application is not a trial, but the accused still has to prove exceptional circumstances that he can be released on bail in the interest. Tlhapi says she is not prepared to tamper with evidence and is satisfied with what has been presented in court. I'm Nomtsikelelo Mthabela, SABC News at the Johannesburg High Court.
The Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says his government has no plans to hang people arrested for taking part in protests. U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened to take very strong action should Iran begin carrying out executions, but later said he'd been told on good authority that the killing of protesters had stopped. The Iranian judiciary has said the man who was arrested during the protests has not been sentenced to death. The BBC's John Sudworth says Trump's allies in the region may be urging caution over military action.
There have been reports in the Israeli press in recent days that the Israeli government, seeing now US military action as increasingly likely, has been urging caution. There are obviously unpredictable risks with military action, a concern perhaps that the Ayatollah's grip on Tehran is not quite as weak as the protests may have led us to believe, and the concern that a bombing campaign could have the opposite of the desired effect and end up rallying the Iranian people to the flag.
Recapping the top story, the IFP in KwaZulu-Natal has in a statement condemned what it calls vile and dangerous death threats directed at the province's Premier Taminduli. I'm Mondela Manafo, SFM News Headlines at 4:30.
In sports, the Sao Banyana drawn in Group B of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations as the draw is revealed and Federer amazed by Alcaraz's Grand Slam potential at number 22. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, slow moving towards Crown Interchange, and the N14 westbound in Centurion, queuing at Brakfontein Interchange. In KZN, there's a stationary vehicle on the N2 southbound after the N3 and a crash on the N3 northbound after Peter Brown Interchange. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound slow moving towards Racecourse Road exit and Marine Drive northbound in Tableview, queuing towards Dolphin Beach. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
How's it, Mzansi? I'm Clementine Musimani. Step into the all-new era of telenovelas, comedy, and more on SABC2. Arey!
The soundtrack of your life with Ernest Pillay.
Some songs take you back instantly to your first love, a road trip, or just simpler times. The soundtrack of your life with me, Ernest Pillay, is where timeless hits and forgotten favorites come together to tell your story. It's not just music, it's memories, moments, and the meaning behind this jam.
Don't you change someone by night.
Rediscover the songs that shaped your journey. Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 p.m., only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Standing on his own.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.6 FM in Mthatha. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
You know, in cricket terms, they talk about it as ball-by-ball commentary. We have commentary on radio and the commentator describes every single ball played, like, say, during a test match, okay, for example. Now, it's not quite ball-by-ball, but it's very much blow-by-blow. And I'm talking about the Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee. The Crime Intelligence Head, Dumisani Khumalo, testifying today, and we've covered that extensively, and we're not going to stop. So let's get there right away. We'll get feedback from you on air as soon as we get an opportunity. Right now, let's cross over to Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee.
How are we
belief and understanding of the events of the day. Hence, then one started by a coincidence that in both operations there was a coincidence of the name dropping, and then as events were unfolding, and then we see Mr. Matlala being more prominent. But on the other hand, Mr. Molefe was busy with his bail application that he ended up getting at High Court.
Because we've only been given an hour, I'm sure members will extensively take you through the events that you've mentioned and other issues that we've already addressed. I would then like to move on and to make good use of the hour that I have by referring to the disestablishment of the PKTT. Now, you've left off with your description of a sequence that led to the issuing of the directive, and then in paragraphs 175 to 210, you then describe what subsequently happened in relation to the implementation of the directive that was issued. General, I don't intend to take you through all of the evidence that you've mentioned there in the manner that we have been doing up to now because of time. So I'm going to pose a few questions to you, and you should at liberty to refer to as much as you wish and that you obviously consider important. From what we've heard in the evidence that was given in relation to the implementation of the directive, it appears that the implementation was spearheaded by the Deputy National Commissioner, because the National Commissioner at the time was on leave, and the email that was then directed to by the Acting National Commissioner to the Deputy National Commissioner has seen an event unfold of the Deputy National Commissioner taking charge and seeing to the implementation of that. In your view, was it correctly placed with the Deputy National Commissioner to see to the implementation of the directive? And was he, because you are the coordinator of the PKTT, was the Deputy National Commissioner familiar enough with the operations of the PKTT to undertake such a big task?
Thank you, Chair. To answer the question directly, I will say no, according to my view. I explained in details the procedure of establishment, that the final approval is with the accounting officer, the National Commissioner. So there was an acting National Commissioner. If the matter was so urgent, then the process was supposed to be handled by the acting National Commissioner in the absence of the National Commissioner.
Then just in relation to the implementation of the directive, like I've indicated, we've heard evidence from the National Commissioner and General Masimulane. It's been confirmed that the National Commissioner was on leave at the time when the directive was issued, but he was back at around the 16th of January. and you deal with the events that happened on the 16th of January in paragraph 185 of your statement. And you indicate there that upon the return of the National Commissioner, yourself and the National Commissioner had a meeting with the Minister, where the Minister was briefed not just on PKTT, but overall what the work of the PKTT was with the counterintelligence at the time. Is that correct?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. That is very correct. On the 16th of January, myself and the National Commissioner briefed the Minister on GCI Ops. The main reason and the agency was the threat that one was foreseeing, looking at the happenings of the 6th of December and the ongoing operations that were still active by then. But the other issue was it coincided. There was a lot also because the other wing of attack was the use of print and social media against myself through my position as the divisional commissioner. So we felt the need to go and brief the minister on the real reason behind this attack, which was the GCI Ops.
And then in paragraph 192 of your statement, you indicate that at the time and not being aware of the WhatsApp messages between Mr. Matlala and Mr. Mokgotsi, which you've just read to us, you said you found it peculiar that the instruction letter from General Zibia required the closing out report to include information that the minister ought to have considered at the time when he made the decision to disband. So it appears if one reads your statement that when you briefed the minister on 16 January and subsequent events, or at least for January, there was no indication that you now considered that there was an ulterior motive behind the director. At which point did you form this conclusion while you were engaging with the minister?
The National Commissioner came back from leave on the 14th. That's when then we had a discussion on the disbandment letter, and then he gave me the direction then to start writing a preliminary report. So on the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, all those days, we were in a process of drafting the report. So the agency of briefing the minister on GI Ops came before the preliminary report. And then soon after the briefing on the 16th, and then I received then the directive from the Deputy National Commissioner on the 17th, that is having a list of issues that I need to include in the preliminary report. I've analyzed some, but basically they are all talking to the confliction of the disbandment directive from the Deputy National Commissioner's office now with the actions that he says I must take. I'm summarizing them from 1 up to 30. Which is paragraph 191. And then maybe with one breath to sum up also the other confusion that was on that long directive. I was supposed to give the summary of the key considerations that resulted in the decision to disband the PKTT. I did not disband the PKTT but I'm expected to give the reasons by the DNC. And then secondly, also on the next page, I was expected to do the analysis of the PKTT's effectiveness and impact on crime reduction. Already the letter was saying the team is having no value, but then afterwards, then I must give that impact analysis. And then the most concerning aspect was that I was expected to include in the report, according to the Deputy National Commissioner, was to include the stakeholder feedback from organizations such as NPA and SSA in response to the announcement of the disbandment. In other words, I was supposed to ask them, how do you feel? How did you take it? And then write back in the report, and which I found it very impossible for me to do. So that is all in terms of the summary of the directive on the 17th. Then, as I've indicated, paragraph 193, that's when then we were busy with the preliminary report with the National Commission.
Maybe do you want to briefly take us through that? Because the request to you that came through that you've now discussed or mentioned that asks you for things which you obviously did not agree with. You did not agree that the PKTT did not add any value. You did not agree to the disbandment of the PKTT. So in your report, do you want to take us briefly through what you then recommended or what you said in response to the request for the report?
The report is attached as SDK 23. It's a very detailed report, but importantly, I'll go straight to the way forward that was proposed by the National Commissioner in case then the disbandment is undertaken, where he proposed that it must take the winding down instead of immediate disbandment, with those steps that are indicated from A to D, no, to G.
One other issue that came up, which we've also learned from evidence that was given from other witnesses, is there was criticism in relation to your specific role on the PKTT as coordinator and as the head of crime intelligence. Now, we see from your statement that in paragraph 205, that this was raised by the minister during this process of implementation and reporting back and forth on in how the PKTT should be disbanded. You indicate in paragraph 205 that the minister criticized you for your role and questioned why you were so invested in keeping the PKTT. Was there any merit to the concerns raised about your dual role that you played as head of crime intelligence and then also head of the PKTT?
Before the 6th of December, I've never heard any concern about me being the Divisional Commissioner, Crime Intelligence, as well as the coordinator of PKTT. As senior officers, it's one of the expectations that you can carry more than what you are appointed for, more especially when it comes to interventions. There is one operation that was the task team. There is one task team that was established in the same December with the directive of the minister in the Eastern Cape, where a a Major General Zulu, who's appointed as the head of specialized operations in Pretoria, was then appointed to be the coordinator of that operation. So it's part of the package for us as senior officers then to be, unless if you approach the National Commissioner and then raise some concerns that you cannot do it.
As part of the request that was made for reports and in the implementation of the directive, a request was made for dockets, and you deal with this in your statement, and you say that the dockets were handed over in March 2025 to, I think it's in paragraph. Can't seem to see it, but it was said that the dockets was handed over in March 2025. You mentioned this specifically. Is there anything peculiar about a request that the dockets be handed over as part of the disbandment process? Why is that a peculiar issue to you that they would make such a request?
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, the first directive from the Deputy National Commissioner that was directed to me only was having that instruction that the dockets must be handed over to Lieutenant General Sintumul, of which I did not comply. And then the second instruction then was directed to General Sintumule only, now directing her then to take the dockets from me, of which then that was in compliance then of that instruction by General Sintumule on the 28th of March.
Yes, you addressed that in paragraph 206 of your statement, and as I related to my previous question, and the reason why I asked whether there was anything peculiar in the request for dockets is because in paragraph 207, General, you mentioned that there was a request on the 16th after you've handed over the dockets in March. There was a further request that came through on the 16th of April by Brigadier Nkwashu, where he made an attempt to retrieve a criminal docket pertaining to a case in which Mr. Molefe is charged. Is there anything, was there anything suspicious about this request?
Yes, thank you so much, Honorable Chair, honorable members. After handing over of the dockets on the 28th of March, and then on the 16th of April, Brigadier Nkwashu made an attempt to retrieve the docket where Mr. Kadiso Molefe was charged. That is the Anat Swart docket, Ferenecheng. According to Brigadier Nkwashu, this action was taken following the instruction from the Provincial Commissioner, who allegedly mandated that the docket be handed over immediately. So that gave us suspicions that it is because this docket was not part of those that were handed over on the 28th of March. Hence now this instruction is specific to that docket.
What was Brigadier Nkwashu's involvement in this implementation process? I believe his name hasn't been as prominent as other names. So what was his involvement and why would he request, how did he initiate this request?
Brigadier Nkwashu is the Deputy District Commissioner of the district within which Vereeniging falls. So he was complying with the instruction from the provincial commissioner's office to the district commissioner that the docket must be brought back, according to him. Maybe it's important just to add this. The Brigadier Nkwashu is the same Brigadier Nkwashu that is also appearing in some parts of my statement as a brigadier who visited Katiso Mulife in prison, driving a vehicle without registration plates, taking clothes and food to Katiso Mulife in prison.
Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo has been speaking, in fact, responding to Advocate Maria Mokwatsi. We'll continue with that as soon as we can. I know you have your thoughts and you're dying to share your opinions, so how about dropping us a WhatsApp at least, voice note or text 0614 104 107. Right now, let's get the news headlines. It's 4:30.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, Senior Climate Specialist at the World Wildlife Fund South Africa, James Rila, warned that climate change is driving more extreme weather events, including heavier rainfall, longer dry spells, and an increased risk of flooding. Organised agriculture working together with private veterinarians should be allowed by government to deal with the outbreak of foot and mouth disease in the country. And nearly 50,000 people have been evacuated from their homes in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in northwest Pakistan ahead of an anticipated military operation in the province. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Malibongwe Drive eastbound in Sharon Lee, slow moving towards President Forshire Drive, and the N14 westbound in Centurion is slow moving at Brakfontein interchange. In KZN, a stationary vehicle on the N3 northbound after the ramp from Shongweni interchange, and a stationary vehicle on the N2 northbound before Kwamashu. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound is slow moving towards Bunga Avenue and Victoria Road, slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Khapele.
So the African Cup of Nations is not yet done, but the other one is just about.
Literally. Yeah. Well, Banyana have been drawn in Group B of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations alongside Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso and Tanzania. Just looking at the other groups, Group A hosts Morocco are drawn alongside Algeria, Senegal and Kenya. Group C sees Nigeria, Zambia, Egypt and Malawi. And then Group D, there's Ghana, Cameroon, Mali and Cape Verde. Now, the upcoming WAFCON will not only showcase Africa's top talent too, but is also World Cup qualifying WAFCON. The semi-finalists will have 4 direct CAF tickets at the World Cup, and the 2 quarterfinalists will qualify for the World Cup through the Interconfed playoffs. The champions will receive $1 million, which is around 18.5 million rand. Meanwhile, Morocco's Brahim Diaz leads the race for the Golden Boot at the Africa Cup of Nations with 5 goals in 6 matches. The Real Madrid winger has been his nation's talisman, guiding them into Sunday's final against Senegal despite not scoring in the semi-final win over Nigeria. Nigeria's Victor Osimhen and Egypt's Mo Salah remain close behind on 4 goals, while 5 players in Ademola Lookman, Amad Diallo, Riyad Mahrez, Ayub El-Kabi and Lassine Sinayoko are all on 3. In terms of golf, Southern Guard GC team captain Louis Oosthuizen has welcomed the pressure of playing home soil when Live Golf ventures into Africa for the first time in March. The all-South African team rebranded from Stinger GC and made up of Oosthuizen, Brendan Grace, Charles Schwartzel and Dean Burmester are gearing up for a maiden trip to Live Tour to South Africa, where they will play 72 holes at State City. The 2010 Open Championship winner says that their collective experience will come in handy, but they will also learn from Australian team Ripper GC, who struggled to deliver on home soil for the first time back in 2023.
I think we're going to try and learn from what we saw with the Rippers down in Australia. The first season was tough for them. They had so much to do, media stuff, and if I remember back, they didn't really have much time as a team practicing together, doing all the things that we normally would do during a week to prepare for the golf. So I think that's something we're going to try and align so that we can actually get some nice time together and practice and golfing to get us as good as we can for the week. Absolutely, there will be lots of pressure on us. We want to play well, but I think it's dealing with that beforehand and knowing that we're going to have a little bit of more pressure on us. And we've all been in situations where we play under lots of pressure. So we have the experience to handle that. It's just a matter of, I think, the off-course things that we get that all aligned so that we can be as good as we can on the week. And obviously, the tournament is massive for us to bring it to the country, to make sure the fans have a good time, but also that the rest of the players have a good time there to showcase the beautiful country. And we're just very excited to get it there.
In rugby, Bulls coach Johan Ackerman says that his side are focused on performance rather than permutations as they prepare for tomorrow's Champions Cup clash with Pau, bottom of Pool 4. After 3 defeats, the Bulls must win in France and deny Pau any bonus points before awaiting Sunday's Scarlets Northampton result to see if they reach the last 16. In tennis, Emma Raducanu faces a tough path at the Australian Open with a possible third-round clash against world number 3 Arina Sabalenka. Seeded at a major for the first time since 2022, Raducanu opens against Thailand's Manachaya Sawangao. In terms of the men's draw, 2-time defending champion Yannick Sinner starts against Hugo Gaston and could face Novak Djokovic in the semi-finals. Top seed Carlos Alcaraz begins against Australia's Adam Walton with a potential showdown against Sinner only possible in the final. Meanwhile, Roger Federer says that Carlos Alcaraz completing the career Grand Slam at just 22 would be crazy. The world number 1 already has 6 majors but has never gone beyond the quarterfinals in Melbourne, and victory at this year's Australian Open would make him the youngest man to win all 4 majors, surpassing Rafa Nadal's record at 24. So that one will be interesting. Will you be watching the Australian Open?
Look, I watched this AFCON till 1 o'clock last night and slept at 1:30 because I didn't get reaction. Surely the Aussie Open takes place at the same time. Right? Don't expect me to do so, please.
Is it because there's no Roger Federer, Rafa Nadal, and Djokovic is there?
Okay, but it's because it's not the African Cup of Nations or the World Cup. I have to prepare for the World Cup. You know, unless we're going to boycott it, which is like another whole conversation, by the way. It's a huge call.
I'll have more other sports in the next hour.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons right here on SAFM, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide with me, KG Mweketi. Because where words fail, music speaks.
For 90 years, one voice has informed, challenged, and connected a nation. SAFM, South Africa's national English public radio station. Established in 1936 as the SABC's very first service, the A program evolving through the English service, Radio South Africa to SAFM in 1995, shaping thought and strengthening democracy. From a full-spectrum station to a trusted home of news and talk, SAFM continues to lead the conversations 90 years strong. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, there's lots of news about local and global markets. There's certainly news about Richmond as well. With all of that, here's Makwe Masilela from Makwe Fund Managers. Makwe?
Afternoon to you, Ashraf, and to your listeners. Yes, Richmond Q3 update. This is a luxury goods company. Their sales up 11%. We've continued strength when it comes to jewelry, up 14%, watchmakers and fashion and accessories. And there's been a significant performance when it comes to the likes of America, Japan, Middle East, and Africa. And retail sales up 12%. And some bit of positive sentiments returned to the markets after a leading semiconductor manufacturer renewed confidence in the durability of AI demand. This follows weeks of steady rotation that we've been seeing away from this mega cap technology stocks, and along those which people see that they'll be doing well when it comes to improvement of the economy. And metals fell as well from all-time highs, with silver down 4% and weakness spread to base metals, sending copper below $1,300 a ton. And after jumping, Ashraf, 11% over the past week, oil prices fell the most since October after Trump signaled that he may hold off on attacking Iran. That is for now. And remember, Iran is OPEC's fourth largest producer. Brent crude is down 3% at $63 a barrel. And after hitting a record high in the previous session, gold prices fell at the back of the very same East Trump stance when it comes to Iran, and also comments that there are no plans to fire U.S. Fed Chair Powell. And we see gold is down 0.6% at $4,598. Platinum down 0.7% at $2,377. And global stocks are making a comeback, but we are hamstrung by the resources and industrial stocks. We are now trading flat, and the rand is also flat at 16.39, and the pound 21.92, and the euro 19.01.
And we got all of that. Thanks for that, Makwe Masilela. 6 to 7, 1 hour of the markets in detail with Jimmy Muyaha. We're gonna hear from you soon, but there's a story of developing in Limpopo that we must cover.
SAFM, setting the nationwide agenda daily. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Tell you what, I was watching these visuals overnight, and I'm watching some of it even now, of the flooding in the Limpopo region. And then it moved on or panned to the Kruger National Park, and it was like the Kruger National Dam. And you just wonder what had happened. I know they closed it, but what about the wild animals too, right? So let's find out exactly where we are, because clearly there are different issues. There are issues of human settlements and displacement. There's potential risks to lives. There's food issues. There's the homes and where they live, and the animals too, right? Because of the ongoing heavy rains in the Limpopo province. With me is Odas Ngobeni, the Mopani District Municipality spokesperson. Thank you for joining us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, as well as to the listeners.
Thank you. Right now, as an example, yesterday, Kruger Park effectively shut down for visitors, and that gives us a good measure of just how widespread the rains and the flooding has been. What's the position today in that province?
Look, Ashraf, we've been on alert level, orange level 9 for the past 3 days. And we can confirm that today the South African Weather Service has issued alert level 10, which is the red warning, which can only mean that we was not out of the woods as yet. But we must proceed to indicate that indeed we have seen significant damage to infrastructure, particularly the roads in the district of Mopane. That is what will have led to the decision to suspend schooling until at least next week. We can as well indicate that unfortunately this morning we had 2 incidents in which at least 2 houses collapsed, but we must indicate that we have not had fatalities. The worst affected area so far from what we have picked is that it's your greater Guyana municipality. We have one village there called Mbaula where the community is cut off because of the flooded bridge. This afternoon, we had the support of the South African National Defence Force together with your Agri-SA. They were able to help us to airlift some of the community members there to at least safety.
And so you're saying, I mean, there's been no loss of life, thank goodness for that. Would that just be restricted to your municipality or the broader province?
No, it's mainly in our municipality who have not recorded fatalities. But in other districts, there are fatalities. I may not be in a position to indicate the exact number, but I must as well indicate that this afternoon we also had an incident in which a 4-year-old child was swept away. We still have not recovered the child. The search and rescue unit is still going to be continuing with our work to try and see if we can be able to recover the child.
Yeah, sure. That's such a terrible story.
At Mbaula as well. Yeah, it is indeed a
terrible. Give us an idea, for those of us who are sitting in the bigger cities, and yes, we have flooding, but nowhere near your levels because we're not in rural communities and there's maybe no rivers there. When there's high levels of flooding like you've just experienced, right? Maybe describe it to us and give us a sense of the impact that it has on that community. I mean, your example of the 4-year-old is just one such example, but tell us more about it.
Look, like we indicated, Ashraf, unfortunately the village is a low-lying area, but the situation has been worse. You'll imagine that if you were to have this sustained rain for 3-4 days, the soil is obviously highly saturated, which becomes even more difficult. We have had many incidents of trees falling on major roads throughout the district. So the situation is just bad. What we're trying to do from the district point of view, of course supported by the province, is to try to get as many of these households to at least go to place of safety, because the priority is to ensure safety of the communities. And of course, we are trying to as well convince them to at least heed our advice. It's not easy. Most of these households, the communities are actually reluctant to move away from their homes, even when they see that the rising waters, the houses are getting waterlogged. They will still resist, but we are trying to convince them to at least go to
why
until such time when the weather is subsided.
Yeah, why are they reluctant?
I wouldn't know. Perhaps it's something that we have to look into as government and broader society to educate our members beyond these particular disasters, for them to understand that as and when we issue this alert, it's important that they actually try to heed such advice, and so that for their own safety and the safety of everyone that is involved. I must as well indicate, Ashraf, like I indicated earlier, the damage to infrastructure, particularly the roads, it's also so severe. The community of Palabora, in the yesterday evening, they were cut off. They were not able to move out. You will not have any movement because the R71 as well as the R40 were as well flooded, and it was very difficult for anyone to move in and move out. And the impact is actually extended to even some of our water treatment plants, where our officials are not able to report to work because of the difficulties around the flooded roads.
What about the relief efforts? That means, one is preventative measures in an ideal situation. The other is when these floods, effectively devastate an entire community. What, besides shifting people to higher ground, as you've just suggested, what about relief and support that they need, and how is that provided? Is it done through, government, local municipality? Are there welfare organizations support? What happens?
We have support from the gift of the givers. Of course, there is coordinated effort from government. The provision of mattresses as well as the food parcels, but we've also had support from gift of the givers that come through to try and help in aiding the work that government is doing. But of course, you'll have long-term support that is needed. Some of these households, of course, will need shelter beyond this particular disaster, and that is something that we will be able to get support from provincial government so that we were able to get these communities settled. But in the immediate is to ensure that they at least have shelter and food until such time when we have done thorough assessment. Because you might not know, Ashraf, the recent rains comes on the backdrop of a windstorm that we had in last year around Boxing Day, where around 600 houses were left affected. So we still have a backlog, and the assessment at that time pointed to a fact that we might be needing around 200 million to try and assist in getting the community settled.
All right, let's leave it at that. Odas Ngobeni, the Mopani District Municipality spokesperson, thank you for your time. And as I talk to you, in fact, the region of Takuma in Limpopo has now welcomed the President Ramaphosa there, obviously to do a site visit of exactly what's happened there. So huge crowd around him, and we'll give you more as and when that happens, right? This is the National Pulse. Time to hear you out. You're on the Pulse.
As we celebrate 90 years of existence, SAFM takes you back to the voices that shaped a nation.
Xolani Gwala will be back again for you 6 to 9 Monday here on SAFM.
And
thanks, Xolani. Good morning and welcome to Morning Talk with me, Kim Gabadeli.
The name is Bonge Kwala. Good to be with you till midday today. Let's engage South Africa.
Welcome to Morning Talk on SAFM, South Africa's news and information leader, with me, Rowena Bird.
90 years of trusted voices. This is SAFM. Across South Africa, online and on radio. SAFM, let's talk.
All right, we've had lots of comments, firstly, on the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee, and there's been responses around the issue of Julius Malema and Norman Arendse, Advocate Norman Arendse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. You're speaking to Space and Teben. Norman Arendse, it seems as if to me, it's my opinion, it seems as if to me he was working with Robert McBride, Paul Sullivan. He knows everything, but fortunately for him, he was invited by the committee to lead the evidence. But at the end of the day, he realized that his friend now are being implicated with wrongdoing. Those people that I mentioned, McBride and Paul Sullivan. Then now he started to fume and show his anger when their friends are revealed. People like Norman Arendse, I believe one day, if the investigation gatekeeper, even himself, he will be found that he knows a lot. That is why yesterday he was acting as he did. Thank you.
Okay, wow, that's like huge allegations in terms of how you see it. I wonder if others see the same way. We certainly know that, Julius Malema felt that Arendse was a bit too hard on let's call them witnesses, and saying, and if you want someone to be able to testify and you want them to assist you, you're not going to get that with that level, that tone. I mean, that's according to Julius Malema. Is he right? Well, you can think about that too.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Soviet here from the rainy King Williamstown. I completely agree with Julius Malema's assertion that Advocate Arendse can sound as if he has already made up his mind regarding General Khumalo, and you can't have that. We as the public need to make our own minds. He needs to do his job and not is populistic and is unparliamentary. He does not need to be popular. He just needs to do his job and not make up his mind before we do, and coax us into believing what he does about General Khumalo. He needs to be professional. I agree with Malema. Soviet Kingdom stuff.
Okay, God, that is more on the Ad Hoc Committee.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ashraf. What is nagging me is that Commissioner, Madlanga Commissioner, and this Art Commission committee that in the Parliament of continuing questioning those people who are troubling South Africans. So they're supposed to arrest those people, not to question them. I don't know where it will end at the end, where it is going, because we are being troubling by these politicians. In fact, this commission doesn't need it. It doesn't need it in the first place. It needed to be arrested, those people, Kuno and the other people there. I thank you. It's Robert Kellen, Jimmy Steen.
Thanks for that, Robert. So you're saying, in spite of, I hear what you're saying, in spite of all the things you've heard that's come out of this commission or the Madlanga Commission, you're saying still not needed, maybe just arrest them. I wonder if others would concur with that.
Afresh, in terms of Patlani, you could understand that there was a lot of corruption amongst this guy. I don't think that Mbaluna was wrong in terms of dismissing him. He had 6 cars, and those cars were very, 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 very expensive. With his salary, how could he afford those cars? You could understand that there was a lot of underhand here. And as such, he was dishonest. And I'm therefore saying that he presented himself as a victim. But I believe that through facts that he benefited by providing the wrong tenders to the people. It's from 500 in the Israel.
So is 500 your name? Okay, and the wrong tenders? 500, interesting one.
Yeah, good afternoon, Ashraf. See, Ashraf, it's Willie here in Puma. You know, what is disturbing me this afternoon is for the DA wanting Minister of International Affairs to take Iran to the United Nations Disciplinary Committee, whilst that was not the case with Israel. You see, committing atrocities on Palestine. Thanks. Here in Kuma.
Thanks, Willie. Is that what they said? I don't know if that's what they said. If that's the case, then maybe I've missed something. What I'd heard the DA say was that from the international relations portfolio was that they know what South Africa has done regarding Israel and the ICJ, and they're wondering why South Africa has been so silent regarding what's been happening in Iran right now. Now, their spokesperson was on Tulas's show this morning, and in fact, I found it very interesting. Listen to the podcast where he made the point that, in fact, he felt that South Africa were right to take Israel to the ICJ, which many may believe that goes against DA policy, and you can debate that one with me. And I'm talking about allegations or what are the perceptions. But anyway, he said they were right to take Israel to the ICJ and let the ICJ rule on it, and they need to do the same thing with others. In this case here, #Iran. Now, South Africa has been quiet, but they've now issued a statement from the presidency, and it says the South African government is following the developments in Iran with concern. The reports of unrest and the subsequent loss of life are concerning, and South Africa urges all parties to exercise maximum restraint. South Africa firmly believes that the right to peaceful protest, freedom of expression, and freedom of association are universal human rights that must be upheld without exception. We therefore call on the Iranian authorities to ensure that citizens exercise their right to protest in peace. Sustainable peace and stability can only be achieved through solutions that center the agency of the Iranian people. And that is issued by the presidency. It's the Office of the Presidency in Pretoria. Right, you may want to comment on what you think of that statement. We'll talk about Dion George just now. He's resigned from the DA. But JCK, you've got a thought too.
Hey Ashraf, compliments of the season, Baba.
Yeah, first time, 2026. Thank you.
Yeah, 2026, and let's live and live and live. Hey man, Ashraf, it seems like this dawn of democracy is taking us nowhere, man. You know, everything that is happening today or since the dawn of democracy in 1991, it's our own making, you understand? I mean, people are losing jobs left, right, center, you can name it. Today, British American Tobacco is shutting down its plant in South Africa, the only plant that we've got, all because of illicit cigarettes that is taking place. As I speak to you, I'm staying in Musina. I've been working at the border since 1995 till 2010. The smuggle of cigarettes daily, it's happening.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. Look, if there's smuggling and it's illegal or illicit, then clearly the authorities need to take charge of it. That I think is clear. But how do you say that how do you link that to the dawn of democracy is not working? How do you link the two?
Let me tell you, during before the dawn of democracy, there was not the smuggling of cigarettes. You understand? During that time, the border was tight. You understand? There was no smuggling of cigarettes. I'm staying in Musina. I'm telling you with evidence. But today it's norm. Cigarettes are in and out. Illicit cigarettes. It seems like those cigarettes, it's somebody from above who's smuggling that cigarette because they're not stopping it. Even what do we call them? BMA.
Yeah.
BMA, where they are situated, they are not situated in a hotspot. As I speak to you, cigarettes are being smuggled. So those cigarettes which are smuggled today are making us South Africans to lose jobs.
Okay,
we're losing jobs.
All right, listen, it's on to 5 o'clock. We're losing jobs. Another conversation that we need to be having. But interesting one from JCK, attributing that to the problems caused by the dawn of democracy. So is that issue of illicit cigarettes because of democracy, or is it because of the lack of policing and the lack of checks and balances within our system? Democracy is one thing, checks and balances is another. Think about that. Let's get the news. Here's Greg Host. It's 5 o'clock.
Thanks, Ashraf. Top stories at 5. Climate specialist weighs in on recent extreme weather patterns, and the IFP condemns death threats against KZN Premier Tamin Duli. Good afternoon, I'm Eva Chipa. Senior climate specialist at the World Wildlife Fund South Africa, James Reeler, warns that climate change is driving more extreme weather events, including heavier rainfall, longer dry spells, and an increased risk of flooding. Reeler was reacting to the South African Weather Service issuing a red level 10 warning for disruptive rainfall in both Limpopo and Mpumalanga today and tomorrow. Reeler adds that human activity is worsening the crisis.
We're likely to see more intense rainfall events often. It also means that we're more likely to see more frequent fires and dry periods. And what would in other centuries and previously have been a 1 in 50-year flood is more likely to come 1 every 20 years. And so we can anticipate getting worse going forward. It's not going to get better. There's solid evidence that climate change is being driven by human action, but that's from the burning of fossil fuels and also by sort of how we're managing the land sector.
Meanwhile, Mozambique is also grappling with floods. The country is prone to floods at this time of the year. Ditabo Totsetsi has more.
Communities in the affected areas are struggling to cross rivers, with infrastructure having been damaged by torrential rains. Strong waters have engulfed rivers and swollen dams. Mudslides have also affected some residential areas. Economic activities are likely to be affected due to roads being damaged. Ditabo Totsetsi, SABC News.
Back home, the Ekurhuleni Disaster and Emergency Services on Gauteng's East Rand says a fire at a Germiston rubber recycling company has been contained. It was discovered that about 15,000 litres of diesel were stored in plastic tanks that caught fire during delivery. Spokesperson William Tladi explains.
About 15,000 litres of diesel caught alight and extensively damaging part of the factory structure. It is alleged that the cause of the fire is the spark which took place during the offloading of the diesel into the reservoir plastic tanks.
In other news, the IFP in KwaZulu-Natal has in a statement condemned what it calls vile and dangerous death threats directed at the province's Premier Taminduli. It says the threats are circulating openly on social media and explicitly calling for the Premier's death. The IFP says it is deeply concerning that the threats have emerged at a time when the province's coalition government is receiving widespread praise across South Africa following the achievement of the first place nationally in the matric results. And lastly, looking further afield, nearly 50,000 people have been evacuated from their homes in northwestern Pakistan ahead of an anticipated military operation in the province. Although Pakistan's army has not publicly confirmed the plans, a spokesperson said that there had been terrorist attacks in the region, which borders with Afghanistan. The BBC's Caroline Davies has the details.
Trucks piled high with belongings. Thousands made their way out from Tira Valley in Khyber district in the north of Pakistan, close to the border with Afghanistan. One resident told the BBC that they'd fled the area to save their lives after shelling began to hit homes. Militancy has been on the rise in Pakistan, with the majority of attacks happening in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, according to a military spokesperson. The evacuation follows a recent surge in militant activity, where armed groups have attacked security forces.
Recapping the top story for this hour, senior climate specialist at the Wildlife Fund South Africa, James Reeler, warns that climate change is driving more extreme weather events, including heavier rainfall, longer dry spells, and an increased risk of flooding. I'll be back at the bottom of the hour for SFM News. I'm Eva Chiva.
In sports this hour, Banyana drawn in Group B as WAFCON drawn is revealed. SA under-19 men feeling the pressure ahead of the World Cup, and Japan to make bid to host Rugby World Cup again in 2035. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Catherine Street northbound in Sandton is where crash is reported near Grayston Drive. The N12 eastbound in Germiston, slow moving towards Craft Road, and the N12 westbound in Alberton, slow moving towards the R59 Reading interchange. In KZN, a stationary vehicle on the N2 southbound before Umhlanga, and a stationary vehicle on the N2 southbound after the ramp from Subaya Drive. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound, slow moving towards Hospital Bend. The N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive southbound in Goodwood is slow moving towards Voortrekker Road, and Main Road outbound in Observatory is queuing towards the N2 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
You can become a victim of a legal problem: wrongful arrest, assault, uncontested divorce, rental disputes, maintenance matters, or labor problems. It can happen to you. Clientele Legal provides tough professional lawyers for an affordable monthly premium. Our legal team is standing by to assist you 24 hours a day. Join today. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
63-year-old Almero knows all about saving with Outsurance.
We do save 417 Rand. That's about 5,000 Rand a year.
That's an awesome saving on Almero's 2021 Ford Ranger.
And there's an out bonus that you get if you don't claim for 3 years. I am really looking forward to it.
How much money could Outsurance save you? Get a quote now. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer in FSP. TCs and information online.
This festive season, the Department of Transport is appealing to all drivers, passengers and pedestrians. Obey the rules of the road and ensure your vehicle is roadworthy. In the past few days alone, over 2,500 vehicles stopped at roadblocks were found with worn-out tires. Tires in poor condition are extremely dangerous, especially at high speeds, where a blowout can cause fatal crashes. Drivers, please check your vehicles before you travel. Brought to you by the Department of Transport, moving South Africa forward.
What's up? Why is there a horse in your driveway?
You ride savvy. Why drive a Mustang when you can ride one?
What the missus say?
Well, she had a bit of a long face, but now she's stable.
If you need a backup plan, We Buy Cars can sort you out.
Nah, savvy. This thing is eco-chic.
Stop horsing around, cowboy. Rather get one of these from We Buy Cars.
What's the horsepower on that thing?
More than one, Doff. More than one.
Don't be Doff, be savvy. We Buy Cars. Geared for adventure, geared for you.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.1 FM in Bombela.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, we really are here, there, and everywhere. And I hope wherever, because, you can listen on radio, you can listen on streaming live, you can catch the SABC Plus, go to the app and download the app and listen on that. And you can listen on streaming live, not just audio, but video, which you'll find via YouTube, safm.co. So how are you listening? Just tell me right now. You can tweet it as well, or WhatsApp us. What platform are you listening to the show right now? I'd love to know. I wonder what sort of connection does Dion George have? Because there's news now that he's resigned as a member of the DA. And that has come in the light of just weeks of, bitter fighting or infighting between himself and other leadership members within the DA. Let's try and make sense of this with Professor Andre Duvenage, a political analyst at Northwest University. Prof. Duvenage, thanks for joining us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Nice talking to you and to your listeners.
Appreciate it. Now, here's a quote from Dion George as per his resignation, right? The situation, I quote him, right? The situation has become intolerable. I am being pushed out and it is no longer feasible for me to remain in the party. I cannot remain in a party that has, through the actions of its current leader, John Steenhuisen, been captured by the ANC and other criminal interests. The result of this capture is that the DA has been completely muzzled and lost its voice and its ability to lead in South Africa's interests. That's Dion George. What do you make of that? It's not just the resignation, but what he said.
Ashraf, yes, that is what he said. I have read his comments. And first we need to ask precisely who is Dion George. Now, he's a very senior member of the Democratic Alliance. In ANC terms, he would have been the Treasurer General of the Democratic Alliance, or if you want to, the Minister of Finance of the DA. He also had a cabinet position within the Government of National Unity for environmental affairs, forestry, and so on. And he was Member of Parliament since 2008. So we are talking about a very senior person within the Democratic Alliance. Now, this whole spat started when there was a problem, allegations of misconduct and misuse of the party's credit card by John Steenhuisen, the leader of the party and the Minister of Agriculture. And very recently, a few days back, the chairperson of the executive of the Executive Federal Committee of the Democratic Alliance made their findings clear, and the findings consist that Steenhuisen was cleared from any wrongdoing. There will, however, be investigations with regard to people that bring the party in disrepute in some way or another. Now, my assessment of Dion George is that he jumped before he was pushed out of the party. I am relatively sure that thinking about the coming elective conference somewhere in March
April
2026,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That he will not make it. And as a result of that, he made a number of serious accusations which you refer to, and we can discuss that.
All right, so let's talk about so look, I mean, he was bound to go once the DA themselves pushed to remove him as a cabinet minister. You know, we can debate at length about who's right and who's wrong, but the bottom line, yes, it was untenable or intolerable from both sides, maybe, right? But let's talk about the allegations he's made. What do you make of them?
Well, to start with, he say that John Steenhuisen is captured by the ANC due to his personal financial vulnerabilities. And then he made the statement that he has abused his position under the influence of criminal interests, referring to illicit wildlife trafficking, the whole captive lion industry. So it is clear to me that there are fundamental ideological differences between John Steenhuisen on the one side and Dion George. I am reading Dion George to be one of the greenies, and I'm reading John Steenhuisen and specifically Billy Oakham as part of, let's call it, the hunting industry, the arms industry, people that would like to work with people that may come into the country, do some hunting, invest in that way. And what is also important is that this is a very big constituency of the Democratic Alliance, thinking about the farming community, thinking about the hunters in South Africa. So if the DA went the way of Dion George, I believe it would have had a serious impact on their support base, and it would also have touched on the portfolio of John Steenhuisen. But the fact of the matter is that the allegations is serious. In fact, you also refer to the fact that John Steenhuisen compromised the principles and the values of the party. He aligned with the enemies of democracy. In that sense, towing the ANC line, going the way of the Irans, the Cubas, the Chinas, the Russias, etc., while Dion George was fighting for democracy. That is what he is saying. So in that sense, it is serious. Yeah. And it brings up the question, can you be an effective opposition while you are part of a government of national unity? And from what I understand, this is currently still a very important debate within the context of the Democratic Alliance.
And I'm sure they'll have it at that Federal Council coming up in April, right? So this may sound paradoxical, considering his allegations against John Steenhuisen and then resigning, Dion George, that is. Does this then strengthen John Steenhuisen's position within the DA, or does it actually weaken it?
Well, my take on it is that John Steenhuisen has won the fight. And from the rumors I am picking up, it is highly likely that he will stand unopposed as leader of the Democratic Alliance. However, I think although this may take place, although he may be the next, still be the leader of the DA after the elective conference, there will still be some questions hanging around. And people are questioning the leadership of John Steenhuisen in some ways, and they are concerned about it. And for the people that are concerned, this will be a problem. But at this point in time, from a strategic point of view, I think this is probably a best-case scenario for the DA. Take the decision, take the knock now, go through your electoral processes and build up towards the November, December local elections.
Okay, I see, Helen Zille, the DA Federal Council chairperson, has issued a statement. And the essence of the statement is that he's jumped before he faced a disciplinary hearing right now. That's different to your jump, which is that Federal Council election, right? That comes up later on. She's suggesting that, in fact, he therefore resigned before answering a pending disciplinary before the DA's Federal Legal Commission on a range of allegations, right? So he didn't do that. Interestingly enough, I mean, they didn't respond to any of his allegations today. They didn't say,
yes,
we would look into it.
He made the interesting point that it's all, let me first put it this way, it's all about bringing the party in disrepute by debating issues in public that may harm the party one way or another. And there is an ongoing investigation that will involve the role players, and they are John Steenhuisen, Willie Oukamp, and Dion George. And the Dion George argument is that he was assessed in this process, but the same rules wasn't applied on Willie Oukamp and John Steenhuisen. As a result of that, he had no other choice than to jump before he was pushed out of the party.
Did he give an indication? I'm trying to read the full statement, that in terms of where is he going to go next? I mean, it could be another party, or it could be out of politics. I mean, another party would be a catch for someone, I'm sure.
My understanding is that he is leaving politics completely, because he is resigning as Member of Parliament. He's resigning as the DA, as a DA member, etc. So, in that sense, I don't think he is going to opt for another political party. I'm also not reading him within the framework of, let's say, the ANC, the EFF, or the MK party, and I'm not seeing him within other contexts. I believe that he is leaving politics. At least that is my interpretation of his statement.
Okay, to end with then, I mean, you made the point that maybe for the DA for now, it's good for them that he goes. Never mind what they're saying about he should have faced a disciplinary. It's good for them that, they've now gotten rid of him. Having said all of that, the allegations will still stick, and who knows what the other council members feel come that Federal Council meeting, gathering coming up in April, right? Would I take it that, often when it comes to these type of leadership spats, we often talk about it and mention other political parties, hashtag the ANC, hashtag the EFF, hashtag the MK party, and so on and so on. It's very rare that the DA has these type of things. Do you get a sense that this is becoming the norm within the DA? We've had it before, I know, with Musi Maimane and Herman Mashaba, but in recent times, no.
I think if we try to explain this phenomenon, it has to do with a huge reconfiguration that is taking place in South African politics, and attempts to organize and mobilize support in complex environments. And as a result of that is creating a lot of conflict. And what I am picking up is that we are looking at the differentiation or the fragmentation of the political process in many ways. If you just look at the number of parties that are going to compete in the local elections, there are already more than 500 parties registered. So there's definitely a fragmentation going on. We are seeing that within all the parties.
Okay, well,
but I think there's a difference between
all right,
the DA
in one
and
line,
the other parties.
very quickly, in one line, go for it.
One line, that they are dealing with their issues straight and they are coming to clear answers. That is not the case with at least the ANC. They are continuing with their challenges in many ways.
Well, thanks for getting us thinking, Professor Andre Duvenage. You've done just that, political analyst based at the Northwest University. Right, what about your reaction? Come on, react, WhatsApp, comment. This is the National Pulse.
The Morning Brief
What do you say to those who are concerned that you may ultimately come to day zero in Knysna?
Yes, we are saying that they must change their behavior. If they fail to change their behavior, we are going to enforce tariffs. We are going to punish them heavily. We are going to ensure that if we find somebody misusing water, that person is heavily punished because it's affecting all the residents. Already our law enforcement officers are out there ensuring that we are looking into the usage patterns. We don't want to be in a situation, where we get to day zero due to our misbehavior.
Dr. Lulamile Mapoloba, Municipal Manager for the Knysna local municipality.
Tulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Find the podcast at safm.co.za.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Right, we'll rejoin the parliamentary ad hoc committee hearings shortly, but for now I need to hear you out. So whatever it is you want to raise, whatever it is you want to get off your chest, whatever you think moves the national pulse, I need to hear it. And let me start with the issue of the illicit cigarettes.
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the SAFM listeners. Ashraf Kipule here in Orange Farm. Ashraf, before democracy, there was no illicit cigarette. So those people that came from exile, they came with business ideas that what they gonna do when they come to South Africa and we go to a democratic state. So it's their own business, the ANC business people that came with that idea. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, but that suggests, for example, in apartheid South Africa, there was nothing ever done that was illicit at all. And we know that's not true.
Ashraf, Zile's statement just shows you that they are protecting their golden boy, John. Remember, this is not the first time John has had some allegations of bringing the party into disrepute, though it may not be financial like this time. But remember how he left KZN by taking the wife of Mike Bowman, who's now Action SA chairperson? It was a big scandal. But they parachuted him to parliament to hide him there, and then now he's back again and they're protecting him. Dion was changing the regulations to protect the environment, particularly the hunting industry. No crow camp. Have I the ideas?
But okay, if they are protecting him, what would be the benefit to protect John Steenhuisen if he comes across as a loser, in inverted commas? If he's a losing leader, what is the benefit for the DA to protect him? You tell me. Lucas in Zanin, more about cigarettes.
Hi, how are you, Ashraf?
I don't escape, but we're talking about cigarettes the whole day today. Go for it, Lucas.
Yes, I heard you talking about this illicit cigarette kind of a business. Look, I think we have got a lot of illicit. We have got illicit labor market. And then we don't talk about it. We talk about that one of a business. And we have got a lot of illicit activities in this country. So,
well, we do. Your point about that means what? What's the big take out of that?
Oh, we must deal with everything that is not legal in the country.
Okay, you've made your point,
So
Lucas.
then
Thanks for that, Lucas. Lucas, very clear about that. Thank you. Right. What about Iran?
Good afternoon, Ashraf and the SAFM listeners. This is Alfred Gamet Bizana in the Eastern Cape Province. Ashraf, the ANC is saying there must be a freedom of speech where? Ashraf, according to my knowledge, there's no freedom of speech in Iran. There's a Islamic government. Islamic government is a totalitarian state, according to my knowledge. A freedom of speech where, Ashraf? No, man, the ANC must not lie, man. They are in favor of that nonsense that the Islamic State of Iran is doing to its people. Thank you, Ashraf, and the SAFM listener. This is Alfred Kamet Bizana in the Eastern Cape Province.
Thank you, Alfred. Look, it's rather complicated. I think we must differentiate between what is called the Islamic Republic of Iran and the Islamic faith. And the Islamic faith theologically, which is something I know about, does have political elements to it. And clearly you have the right to express yourself. That I can tell you for sure. Now, I think within Iran, it's possible that there can be more wrongs than one. That means it's possible there's a massive overreach from the current leadership it's a theological leadership. There's massive overreach from them. It's also possible that some of the protesters who are protesting against them, who are protesting with one agenda to bring in the Shah, the exiled son of the Shah. And if you go back to the politics of Iran then, the Shah of Iran at that stage, there's a lot. Go and Google it and you'll find out. Now, linked to all of that is who's meddling where. Linked to that, of course, is the allegations about the USA and Israel. On the other hand, does it come across that South Africa has been too soft in their statement today? I have a sense that could well be the case. I mean, should they push it harder around it? Because there is a complete blackout in terms of media. And, when there's a media blackout, well, you can just assume a lot of different things.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I'm one of those who sent a voice note to Tulas in the morning about the DA spokesperson's views on Palestine and others. It seems very, very, very unlikely of the DA to be sending that statement. And I still maintain that he went against his party's policy. If any DA person is listening, they must correct me. Did they? I think they were very angry at him. It is unlike DA to say those kinds of things. If I am wrong, I need the DA to correct me. Where do they stand? Do they still believe that it was right for what happened in Gaza? They must correct us and let us know where they stand actually on Gaza policy. Soviet Kingdom stuff.
Thanks for that. Well, I agree with you, and that's why there's been such ambiguity around them. And as per the conversation today on Tulas's show, I mean, that spokesperson said, yes, the DA supports the ICJ, the South African push to the ICJ, which I don't know if that's DA policy. I mean, I'd like to see where it is. He then did say that there needs to be a ceasefire, there needs to be humanitarian aid. Yes, the other point of departure, the DA has never made a statement saying that what we see, it has all the characteristics of a genocide. If they've said so, I'd love to know. So, teach me something. He didn't say that either, but he certainly went far more than what I expect, okay? So, Shady in Carltonville, hi.
Ashraf, how are you?
Yeah, good indeed. Go for it. What's your point?
I'm good. No, Ashraf, these cowards of ANC, they ran away during struggle. When they come back from exile, they come with illicit cigarette, with a lot of laws that benefit them. So we as a citizens of South Africa, we benefit nothing. So that is a serious problem. It's a real problem. During apartheid time, there were no illegal cigarettes in South Africa. Everything was up to standard. Right now, South Africa is a mess.
All right, I hear you, but is that the fault of democracy or is that the fault of people who are crooked, if that would be the case, Sashedi?
It's the fault of governing party.
Okay, got that. Sashedi in Carltonville, thanks for that. There's a wide cross-section of opinions, and really, as always, the diversity of people that makes me think, thumbs up to all of you. 5:30, here's the news headlines with Eva Chipa.
Thanks, Ashraf. For news making headlines for this hour. The British-American Tobacco has confirmed that it's set to close down its sole manufacturing facility in South Africa in Heidelberg, Gauteng. In other news, the Johannesburg Magistrate Court has rolled over the bail application of the man accused of orchestrating the assassination of Warwick Stock, also known as DJ Waras, to tomorrow. And lastly, senior climate specialist at the World Wildlife Fund South Africa, James Reeler, warns that climate change is driving more extreme weather events, including heavier rainfall, longer dry spells, and an increased risk of flooding. Dineo Mutawung will have more news for you at the top of the hour. For SFM News, Hamiva Chipa.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N12 eastbound in Bedfordview, slow moving towards the R24 highway split. The M1 southbound is slow moving towards Boysons, and the N1 southbound in Fourways, slow moving towards Winnie Mandela Drive. In KZN, A stationary vehicle on the N3 northbound after Chatterton Road, a stationary vehicle on the N3 northbound after Cliffdale Interchange, and a stationary vehicle on the N2 southbound at Umhlanga Road. In Cape Town, the N7 Jakes Hartwell Drive southbound queuing between Epping and Langa, on the N1 outbound at Kells River Road ramp, and Newlands Avenue southbound queuing as you approach the M3 highway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Right, to me, you've got a Banyana story.
Yes, Banyana have been drawn in Group B of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations alongside Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso and Tanzania. Just looking at the other groups, Group A hosts Morocco are drawn alongside Algeria, Senegal and Kenya. Group C sees Nigeria pitted with Zambia, Egypt and Malawi. And Group D is Ghana, Cameroon, Mali and Cape Verde. And as we know, we're always looking forward to seeing the Africa's talent being showcased, but it will also serve as an important qualification pathway for the 2027 Women's World Cup in Brazil. The semi-finalists will get 4 direct CAF tickets at the World Cup, and 2 quarter-finalists will qualify for the World Cup through the Inter-Confed playoffs, and the champions will receive a $1 million prize, around 18.5 million rand, and the WAFCON is going to be from the 17th of March to the 3rd of April. Meanwhile, Morocco's Brahim Diaz leads the race for the Golden Boot at the Africa Cup of Nations with 5 goals in 6 matches. The Real Madrid winger has been his nation's talisman, guiding them into Sunday's final against Senegal despite not scoring in the semi-final win over Nigeria. Nigeria's Victor Osimhen and Egypt's Mo Salah remain close behind on 4 goals. Meanwhile, in cricket, South Africa under-19 coach Malibongwe Maketa has admitted that the players are experiencing some nerves ahead of the under-19 World Cup opener against Afghanistan tomorrow, saying that that's normal even for players in the senior team. South Africa are drawn in Group D alongside Afghanistan, Tanzania and West Indies, and will be based in Windhoek in Namibia for all the group stage matches, with the knockout rounds to be played in Zimbabwe.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of nerves representing your country at a World Cup, and I'm fortunate enough to have been to the Men's World Cup, and experienced players also experience nerves because of the magnitude of the tournament. And here we have a psychologist that is working with the players, and all the coaches that work with the players on day-to-day basis. We are making sure that we are building that mental capacity to be able to handle the pressure that comes with the responsibility of representing your country at the World Cup.
Well, Maketa says that regardless of the nerves, they are going for the win.
Well, we go to any tournament to win it as Cricket South Africa. And looking at this group and the way we've gone about it with everything that has happened, it's no less expectation for them. We want to go out there and win the tournament, and that's how we benchmark ourselves.
In rugby, Japan has officially submitted a bid to host the 2035 Rugby World Cup. If successful, it would be the second time the country hosts the tournament. Japan Rugby Football Union President Masato Chichida confirmed that an expression of interest has been sent to World Rugby, and he said that the country must work together to deliver the best World Cup ever. Japan previously hosted the Rugby World Cup in 2019 and reached the quarterfinals for the first time in history. The next tournament will be held in Australia in 2027 and the United States in 2031. In terms of golf, Southern Guard GC team captain Louis Oosthuizen has welcomed the pressure of playing on home soil when Live Golf ventures into Africa for the first time in March. Now, the all-South African team rebranded from Stinger GC and made up of Oosthuizen, Brandon Grace, Charles Schwartzel and Dean Burmester are gearing up for a maiden trip to the Live Tour to South Africa, where they will play 72 holes at Steyn City. The 2010 Open Championship winner says that their collective experience will come in handy, but they will also learn from Australian team Ripper GC, who struggled to deliver on home soil for the first time in 2023. Well, hopefully Team South Africa will do well in South Africa. That's it from my side for now. I'll be back again tomorrow.
Perfect, thanks.
As the nation seeks answers, SAFM brings you live, uninterrupted coverage of Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee investigating allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. You can also stay up to date with the Judicial Commission of Inquiry into criminality, political interference, and corruption in the criminal justice system. Stay informed, stay connected. Tune in live on SAFM 104 to 107 and follow the coverage across our digital platforms live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAFM Radio. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
SAFM music, crafted to make you feel real good. Handpicked just for your pleasure. Classics sounding so good, only on SAFM.
It's that time of the year again. Back to school. New uniforms, fresh books, and new beginnings. As learners return to the classroom, let's encourage them to dream big, work hard, and stay focused. Parents, teachers, and communities, this is where the journey continues. SAFM wishes all learners a safe, successful, and inspiring school year. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Now, we get to your calls in a moment. Lots of comment about, about Iran, about the DA, about the ICJ, about cigarettes as well. And talking about cigarettes, let's stay with that theme because we've had lots of calls about illicit cigarettes. So there's a different story around that. British American tobacco. You've got news about that, Jimmy?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to our listeners. I certainly do. We got that announcement earlier today that British American Tobacco would be looking to close down their South African manufacturing operations after more than 50 years in operation. They have been in operation since 1975 on that particular facility. And the main reason that was cited there is the illicit cigarette market. So we're going to speak to British American Tobacco directly and get a sense of how this decision was arrived at and the impact this decision will then have going forward. I think it's quite an important conversation given that the companies the decision to shut down the manufacturing facility will likely have an impact on jobs and the local communities. We're also going to have a conversation taking a look at the global company known as Saks Fifth Avenue in the United States, a luxury brand on that side that has, or that it will potentially be filing for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. We're going to take a look at that in the context of retail stocks and retailers and look at it compared to the likes of Richemont that have reported record sales recently. We're going to try and unpack the differences there and see what have been some of the driving factors rather around those markets. Then we have a conversation taking a look at the latest calls or the latest warnings from the Automobile Association related to some of the vehicles that are being sold in South Africa that have very poor safety ratings. We're going to see if we can make sense of that and see if we can make sense of what is happening there. This isn't the first time this has been flagged, but today the Automobile Association said they'd been receiving a large number of complaints around this, and they would urge consumers and customers to be wary. So we're going to get to the bottom of that and try and make sense of that. And then because it is Thursday, we're going to wrap up the show with a small business. I've got the privilege of the small business coming into studio to join us to chat about how it is that they've built that business. It is a local apparel and clothing brand that has done exceptionally well for themselves, that started way back in 2018 for the first time and has finally found their mojo, so we're going to speak to them about their business and get to know them a little bit better. Before we get to those conversations, a sense of the markets throughout the day. It's been a strong day for currencies, particularly the rand. Not such a great day for indices and commodities. Commodities by and large in the red, and perhaps let's start with them. The gold price still above $4,600 per ounce, but it is down about 0.1% at the moment. Brent crude, thankfully, is back below $65 a barrel. It was at as high as $66 a barrel yesterday when we spoke. We're currently at $63.60 or so. The silver price, a little softer, but still above $90 a fine ounce. The platinum price, $2,375 a fine ounce, almost $2,400. Palladium is now back below 1,900 quite significantly. It's at 1,841, but still in a very good territory, even with today's moves to the downside. On the equity side of things, as I said, a bit of a mixed bag there. Asian markets were all in the red with the exception of the ASX in Sydney that finished up almost 0.5%. European markets were mixed as well, with the FTSE up 0.45%, but the CAC 40 in France down about 0.1%. US markets are in the green at the moment. The Nasdaq up 0.75%, the S&P 0.5%, and local markets just managed to technically finish in the green. And I say technically because it is a 1 basis point move to the upside for the all share, 3 basis points to the downside on the top 40. Resources were down 0.47%, industrials down 0.92%, but financials rescued us up 1.5% on the day's trade, almost 1.6% there. As I said, a good day for the currency side of it, particularly on the rand side of it. Against the British pound, we have broken below $22 per British pound, 21.89 at the moment. We've broken below 19 rand against the euro, 18.98, and we're still below 11 rand against the Australian dollar at 10 rand and 95 cents. One South African rand against the US dollar is trading at 16 rand and 36 cents. Anyone keeping an eye on Bitcoin? It's 95,600 odd dollars a Bitcoin. In rand terms, with that stronger rand, we are still above 1.5 million rand, but we're at about 1.56 million, about 20,000 rand better off than we were this time yesterday. So we're going to look at these and other market movements when we come back a little later on, just after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Right, perfect. Thanks for that. So that's an interesting one about, and I must listen to that conversation about the impact of BAT closing down and their claim driven by illicit cigarettes which have proliferated in South Africa. The question is why, and then what happens next, and who picks up those jobs. Sure, man, I do not smoke, just for the record. Right, I'm going to get to your calls and comments in a moment.
Listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. SAFM.
Right. In fact, no, I said calls. We'll pause on that for the moment. Let's just pick up conversation once again at Parliament's Ad Hoc Committee.
The DNC, which was also without this attachment. It was just an email directing me what to do.
On the 3rd of January, saying you must do a closing up report and submit it on the 13th of January 2025.
That's correct.
So that is 13 days after the actual disbandment letter.
Yeah.
So the immediate effect was actually immediate.
According to my understanding.
Thank you very much. You sent a team to the University of Fort Hare to do operations there. There's an allegation that your team got bribed. And one of them got bribed with a gin and a poloneg. What is your take on that? The 1.5. Some of them get 1.5, e-wallet and stuff. The e-wallet packet.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Investigations to be a contact person between the team when the team needs some documents and whatever from the university, because he's dealing with investigations. So we can practically say he was part of the team because he was spending most of his time with the team. A very generous gentleman who will buy lunch for anyone at any time and then give freebies like a very rich person. So there was that rapport between him and the team working together and also him offering, but the offering and the goodies.
Was it at Winter, General?
I can't remember whether it was at winter, but what I want to underline in my answer is it only happened after the team arrested the hit coordinator, who at the later stage we find that he was talking with him. So it was during that period only. And he was attending all the cases when the team goes to court to place. When they went to place this particular one, he did not go to court. So already the team started to be suspicious. That was the time then he was giving freebies.
Thank you. I think the Polonek explains what season was it. Let's jump. Let's take matters to Herigwala now, where Orab Nomvalo comes from. Your detractors have a view that the firearms that were found to have been used to murder Cindy Somagaga were firearms that came from crime intelligence. And that has brought your name into the center of the fracas that happened in regard to that case. What is your take on that?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I was leading the investigation that found those facts, and I was not part of crime intelligence by then. I was a brigadier at ORS, and after some time, whilst in the task team, I became a major general. Still busy with the same investigation. So that part of evidence was uncovered by myself and the team. It's me who flew from Durban to go to Pretoria to have a meeting with the then acting divisional commissioner, crime intelligence, discussing those issues after we have uncovered that part of evidence.
Okay. The letter of the 31st of December 2024 covers three aspects. It covers the PKTT, which you are affected. It covers the ports of entry. I'm not sure if you are affected. It covers crime intelligence, moratorium on filling of vacancies, which you are also affected as the head of crime intelligence. It's now been a year since the moratorium. What impact did the moratorium have on the performance and the effectiveness of the crime intelligence of the country?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Especially if you are going to couple with our arrest and our prohibition from entering the premises or doing the crime intelligence work, the damage is very huge because already we were operating on a very limping scale with those posts that were freezed. Now, when we are arrested, the very few remaining top management, and then one can say when we went back, we found that it's like we are starting from scratch. There are lots of things that have gone back to where they were, and then let alone then the outstanding issues that were not attended up to date.
You make an analysis of how drug cartels operate. You categorize them from major to minor, international, local, and stuff. And you say, in most cases, the big crime syndicates or big criminal cartels normally hold dual memberships. I mean, dual citizenships. In that, the member from that and that and that. How many do you have knowledge if Mr. Paul O'Sullivan has one or two citizenships?
According to our profile, he has got 3.
He has got 3.
Yes.
And Mr. Matlala has got 2, according to evidence.
Yeah.
So could we make a round off that they suit the characterization of drug cartels?
It's one of the most important requirements for you to serve in a cartel. As I mentioned during my evidence, that you'll need to be able to move across so as then the commodities can also be able to move.
We had asked, please apologies if I'm rushing you. The chair is a very strict guy there. We have asked Mr. Cedric Nkabinde on what becomes his role in the senior management service meetings of the SAPS. And he alleged that, actually he responded that he just goes there to support the minister, to just give a support work to the minister. But in your affidavit, you detail in respect of a winding down report that Mr. Nkabinde had a different view with Sibiya and the minister and all that. Is that true? Could it be that Mr. Nkabinde was not telling Parliament the truth?
It is true, Honorable Member, Honorable Chair. According to also my understanding, the staff officer is the assistant of the minister who must just keep records and decisions and assist the minister. But in one meeting that I'm referring to in my affidavit, he was part of the discussion and very vocal in terms of immediate disbandment.
Okay. So the PKTT is a multidisciplinary team, as you explain it in your affidavit, that is prosecutorial guided, that is prosecution guided. So in your view, as the project leader of the PKTT, to whom does the power of dissolution reside? Who holds the power to dissolve the political killing system?
According to my understanding, the power to dissolve has to come the way the establishment came. There's a time where I referred to the demobilization that will need 7 years if you had been in the operation for 7 years, because it has to start with discussions with the stakeholders, so as you are all in agreement at all levels. There are lots of levels of PKTT in terms of oversight and participation that I mentioned. Operational level, provincial steering committee, national, up until the IMC, who can then recommend.
On South Africa to say, don't even go there. Basically, what he's saying then, if I'm following your line, to say South Africa had within its rights, so that means he will not criticize South Africa for doing just that, where others have criticized South Africa, right? Interesting point.
Ashraf, afternoon. It's Peter from Durban. I just wanted to clarify. I heard the interview this morning on Tulis' show. The DA didn't say that they supported the decision. What he said was that South Africa was within its legal rights to go to the court and to bring the case to the court. But I think his gripe was that the South African government is not consistent in terms of who it wants to take to court. It will support some people and not others based on its own ideology and its own policies within the ANC. And so that, for example, if we chose to go to the court against Israel, we should do the same against Iran. And in fact, in the case of Venezuela, we obviously had taken the United States to task in the United Nations. There's no consistency. And that was really the point. He did not say that the DA actually supported the move. Thanks.
Yeah, okay. I think your point is similar to the previous point. I mean, it is within South Africa's rights, okay, to do just that. But interestingly enough, he also didn't criticize it. So he may not have said they support it or he supports it, but he didn't say that was a bad move. Actually, what he was saying is exactly what you're saying. If they've done that with regard to Israel and the ICJ, why can't they do more with other countries? I hear that point about inconsistency.
Good morning, Ashraf. Thanks for a lovely show. Jody here from Rudderpoort. The DA is tiptoeing around John Steenhuisen, and that's a fact. This guy is untouchable there in the DA. He's untouchable, and nothing's going to happen, even if he does wrong. Thank you for a great show, Ashraf.
Much appreciated. You did say good morning. So which time are you in? Are you somewhere in Washington? I'm just checking. But thanks for the appreciation of the good show. I think Temba, myself, and Keys will appreciate that, right? What about illicit cigarettes?
Good afternoon, Ashraf Gada and the hardworking team of producers behind you. My name is Mpipum Pirini from Limpopo Mkumbani Village. Ashraf, there is a case sitting at Mudimule Magistrate Court of a woman who is working for number 1 Citizen Farmhouse. Till today, no one knows the legality or illegality of those foreigners. We can fight illegal foreigners left, right, and center. There is no political will to push them out because politicians employ them for their own reasons. We also have a big problem of illicit cigarette from Messina to Cape Town. Fake cigarette is making more money than tax-paying cigarette companies. Because there are hands of politicians in this business, we can't stop it. We have a problem in this country of politicians who love money than their country. Thank you so much. I am Mpipum Pirini, Limpopo Mkumbani Village.
Thank you. And I hear that often, right? So another point about the politicians.
Good evening, Ashraf. I choose to remain anonymous. In terms of illicit cigarettes, there's a lot of these activities in Makado. If the police can just raid all these Pakistani national shops, these cigarettes might be manufactured there because it seems all these foreign nationals who are selling them down the street are buying them from these Pakistans. I believe a 20 has been sold for 15 rand. Therefore, they make profits of 5 rand per packet.
Well, I hear you. Now, if it's that obvious to you, then why wouldn't it be obvious to others? Like, how can they not know that, if that is the case?
Good afternoon, Dr. Ashraf. You know the VAT, Dr. Ashraf, they tried by all means to compete with these illicit cigarettes to an extent whereby they had to hire a lot of people to drive panel vans that were delivering cigarettes. And then they were being robbed. Then they hired Fidelity Security to guard them. But still, they couldn't win the competition because these illicit cigarettes ended up having a company there by Marlborough Drive manufacturing those cigarettes here in the country.
Okay, there we are. And there's, I hear that part too. I think there's another one. Let me just get that too. We're just about to wrap up the show. Maybe 1 or 2 more points.
Ashraf, there is no war in Zimbabwe. There is no war in Nigeria. There's no war in Malawi. And why is it that the half of it, 50% or 90% of Zimbabweans are in South Africa? They are fighting, they are forcing to be here, taking our jobs, taking our space, hijacking our buildings where we're supposed to renovate them and give in to the scholars or new beginners to work. Hospitals, schools, what must we do? I've never seen any South African fighting for any plant out there. I thank you.
Okay, listen, I don't know how to answer that. It's such a complicated, I mean, that could be another 15-minute discussion in its own right. There's just not enough time. Thanks for listening. Tried to play as many comments as we could. Couldn't do it all, but really thank you for, sending it to us. And we often bank it and we'll play them, some of them even tomorrow. Much appreciated. This is the National Pulse right now. Let's get the news. It's 6 o'clock. Here's Daneo Matone.
Yes,
This is SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM. This is SAFM.
Just tell me about how this concert series fits in with what you are trying to do with these young people.
The reality is that private funders do not just thoughtlessly throw their resources around.
It is one thing to get a backtrack like that for a finance guy, hey?
Somebody just WhatsApped me to say that she has a daughter who has hearing loss.
Corruption in South Africa has reached disgraceful levels.
First things first, let's get to my daily that's my point feature. So, did you see Cristiano Ronaldo cry yesterday?
This is SAFM.
Music never sleeps, and neither do we.